Welcome to the Cash Flow Project Podcast. Are you looking to better your financial situation by increasing your cash flow? Too busy to hunt for real estate deals or don't know where to start? Then you're in the right spot. Join us as we dive in and talk about investing for cash flow using multifamily real estate.
Welcome to the Cash Flow Project. I'm your host, Vince Gethings with Tri-City Equity Group. And today we have Ethan Neumann and Harrison Trail on the show. Ethan is an entrepreneur, podcast host, syndicator, realtor, and lifelong learner. He got his start in real estate at the age of 18 when he founded a single-family investment company that did $300,000 in revenue its first year. He currently serves as a co-founder and director of investor relations for Visioneer Capital, where he coaches his network and fellow realtors interested in commercial real estate investing. And Harris here is a full-time entrepreneur as well, investor and licensed real estate agent. He's been part of the success of multiple startup companies since starting his entrepreneurial journey at a even younger age of 16, and leverage his experience to develop efficient systems that scale, value-based marketing strategies, and acts as the backbone of Visioneer Capital's exceptional user experience. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Vince. Thank you.
So Harrison's got me beat on that.
Yeah, I know. It's like 18, I got 16. I was 13 when I was flipping houses. Yes, that's awesome, guys. I know we were talking a little bit before we jumped on here about things we want to talk about, but let's get right into kind of the high level stuff, and then we'll just drill down. So I guess if who are you and why should we care?
I'll let Harris go first on this.
Sure. Yeah. So Ethan and I, we're partners. We've been in real estate for a couple of years now. We're both 20 years old. I hate that I can't say I'm older than Ethan anymore. Well, I am older than Ethan, but I'm not a year older than Ethan anymore. But anyway, we're 20 years old. We dropped out of college and pursued real estate full time. We had a wholesaling company for about a year. And then we transitioned into multifamily full time. And multifamily has been an absolute gift, and we've never looked back. So I'd say some of the things that we're best at is definitely when it comes to systems, processes, making sure that, you treat this as a business and not as a hobby, not as something on the side. You got to have a system for getting deals and making money. So that's one thing that we're really good at.
Awesome. Ethan?
Yeah. Well, Harris kind of covered it. I guess I'll go back into my background a little bit more. So we were actually random college roommates. So didn't know each other before.
Yeah.
College, almost switched roommates. So we would have never known each other. We both got into real estate our freshman year. COVID came and I was doing some other stuff. I had like a dorm solutions company, like a mattress extender for dorm beds, drop shipping, that sort of stuff. And then we found out about wholesaling, and I took the first leap and I was like, man, this is what I'm going to do. This looks like it could work. So did that over the summer of freshman year, and kind of had that mindset shift, started doing well, started reading books, and then decided not to go back. And then Harris joined me about 6 months later, and dropped out after his sophomore year. So now we're both out of college and doing this full time.
Nice. So why did you choose the multifamily route over wholesale or flipping? Because usually you choose like wholesaling and flipping, and then some small multifamily, and then eventually, commercial multifamily. Seems like you skipped some steps there. Why?
Well, yeah, we did wholesaling for about a year. When I first started wholesaling, I had $5,000 saved up from lawn mowing. So not a lot of money. I can't buy an apartment complex. I can't even buy a single family house. So wholesaling was really what I knew as the only option then. And that turned out to be a blessing, because wholesaling is a very hard business. It's not easy. A lot of people say,
definitely not easy.
Wholesaling, no money down, no experience, no credit, whatever, like, the sales pitch. You can, obviously it takes money to make money as far as building up a marketing machine. But the value that it taught us was hustle and business, because in wholesaling, leads are so hard to come by that you can't let anything fall through the cracks. So we learned that, hey, we really need to have our systems down, and we really need to be calling and following up with every single person in this business in order to get deals done. And that's what we learned. And then, we did that for about a year and a few months, and then transitioned into multifamily, 4 or 5 months ago. And, I have my license. I do some listings as well for active income. But I think it was just a scale. I think we realized that wholesaling, Harris, you trying to jump in here?
Well, I was going to say, it's the scale, as well as, wholesaling is super active. But I think the biggest thing for both of us, and we talked about this a lot, was finding out what our end goal was. Like, we had both like, all right, where do we see ourselves in 10 years? Like, what do we see ourselves doing? And both of us were like, oh, I'm going to own like massive apartment complexes. We're going to do developments. Like, we're going to own all these units. And we're like, all right, well, if we both have aligned goals and that's both what we want to be doing in 10 years, why the heck are we waiting? Start today, and we'll get there way sooner. And I think that's an issue that, a lot of entrepreneurs, and ourselves included, for a long time, you have that end goal in mind. You're like, oh, one day I'll get there. Well, start today. Like, the sooner you start, the faster you're going to get there. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people look at multifamily and they see the barrier to entry being so high. And I would say the barrier to entry is less on the capital side and more on the network and experience side and education, because you're dealing with other people's money and you're getting into teams of people who have tons of experience, and you need to provide value. So initially you might think, hey, I need to do wholesaling, or I need to do single family to build up my capital to get into multifamily. Well, the good thing about multifamily is there's things like syndications. You can do a lot of JVs. You can bring those partners to the table. So the experience of the network is truly the most important part. And that's what we're working on right now. And that's why we decided to jump over to multifamily relatively soon, or relatively early.
Wow. That was a lot.
Yeah.
Trying to take my notes here. I'm like, man, I got like 2 pages of notes ready. So now that's huge. One of the things I want to dig into real quick is the begin with an end in mind that y'all got to very quickly. And I'll kind of share my experience on that, and then we'll transition over. We'll dive into that. So I started with, when I started investing, like a lot of these programs I didn't even know about, like, the Jake and Geno's, the Rod Philippe's, Bradshaw Marks, like all those, Dave Lindahl's, like, I didn't know they existed. It wasn't like a barrier to entry of like, I can't do that. It's like, I had no idea that world existed. Right. So all I knew was like Bigger Pockets and like those type of Rich Dad Poor Dad type books that were like, go buy duplexes and stuff like that. And so that's where I started, and it was great. And I got up to 20 units, completely by myself in about 18 months. Right. So I was like, man, I'm like crushing it. Right. And then I went to a meetup, and it was one of the RIAs in Sacramento, and they, just telling everybody, kind of just sharing, networking, doing the thing. And they're like, man, if you just get like, 10 more years and like 40 more duplexes or whatever it was, or like 80 more duplexes, you can retire. And I'm thinking so I'm in my investment market was like this small Midwest town, a couple 100,000 people. And I'm like, there's not 80 duplexes in the entire town. And now you're saying like 10 years and I have to literally own every duplex and fourplex
Good luck.
in the Tri-City area to reach my goal. And that's when like the wind was completely sucked out of that sale of like financial freedom through small, multifamily. And I was like, all right, there's got to be something else. And then that's when I started looking. And that's when I found like, oh, there is this whole, another world out there. How do I do that? Like, how do I get into the multifamily? How do I jump these steps? Because I ain't about that life of, 10 more years of this. Because the first 20 units were like, it was a grind, like getting those ones. It's, I don't know how many closings, a lot of closings, a lot of loans, a lot of debt to income ratio going up, and stuff like that. And I was like, there's gotta be something else. So that's when I started, finding, reading different material, joining different groups and going out there and looking for those networking groups that were going to get me to that next level. And I found one. Yeah. So we're here. So how did that look like for you, making that jump? You're talking about the goal, back to the original question of the goal is aligning, like saying, okay, in 10 years, this is where we want to be. I guess, what was that 10-year goal? And then how did you work backwards from that into deciding multifamily was the best vehicle?
Well, I think there's a common misconception out there that people think that it's way easier to get 5 or 10 duplexes than it is to get like a 50 unit, because the thing is all that time that you spent and all those closings and everything that you spent to get those 5 or those 10 duplexes, if you would have spent that all on getting just a larger multifamily, then you probably get a 50, maybe 100, and then you already surpass what you were going to do in the first place. So I think that was one thing that we realized was like, we want to be at we want to own these big apartment complexes one day. What's going to get us there as fast as possible? Duplexes aren't going to do it. And that's where we had some friends that were kind of getting into the space too. And they shed a little bit of light onto us about the whole mentorship side of things. And then that was like a huge eye opener for us, just joining Jake and Gino and just being around those people that, are crushing it every day. You're seeing the success stories. You're surrounded by the mindset. It changes everything. And that just sheds the light on how important being in a group like that is, being around the right people.
I think to add on to that, Vince, to answer your question as well, is our 10-year goal. I think it's been really difficult for us to pinpoint a 10-year goal. Just because it's so far out. Like 2 years ago, we were both in college, right? So for us to think 10 years out,
change.
Like, yeah, I have no idea where I'm going to be, but I know I have a vague vision of we both want an extreme amount of cash flow to where we can go out and do the things that we want to do, right? Because we have that check coming in next month. One of the things that we want to do is invest in technology startups. Another thing we want to do is travel the world and build schools and libraries. And you can only do that if you have a massive amount of cash flow. And I'm not talking, a few $1,000s a month. We're aiming for a lot bigger than that. And so I think to play off of that, having those big goals, if you have larger than life goals, then you'll find paths to get to those goals. So if we had small goals of, hey, I want to have, $3,000 a month in cash flow, and I just want to have a good family, and I just want to have an enjoyable, comfortable life, then maybe looking at duplexes and fourplexes would have been an option for us. But since we have these larger than life goals and we want to have a massive amount of cash flow so we can truly change our lives and change our families' lives and people around us and change the world, then we're finding a pathway to get there. And we wouldn't have found that if we didn't have these big goals. We wouldn't even have been looking at this. This wouldn't have even been an option. So I think surrounding yourself with the people that allow you to dream big and push you to dream big is important as well.
Nice. I pretty much wake up every day, and the first question I ask myself is, when Lambo? And that's all I need to do is and then I'm fired up and I'm ready to go. No,
hey,
but
screw being comfortable. We choose violence. Come on, now we go for it all. So
going to the moon. Anyway, so that is really good, Ethan. One of the points there I think is huge that a lot of people misstep in and cause a lot of heart pain and stress is finding partners where their vision and goals do not align. Mm-hmm. And the example is to the point that using what you just said as an example is, say, Harris here, he's got, When Lambo on his mind. And he's like, I want, $50K a month in passive income. Just making it rain every day. And then you're like, I just want 10 duplexes that are going to give me an extra, whatever, $1,500 a month to, I can put in my, whatever, kids college fund or something like that, my future kids college fund, right? The problem, and both of those are fine for those individuals, right? That's the goal. Sure. Those people should not be partners, because what's going to happen is Harris is going to be waking up at, 5 a.m. grinding every day because his goal is so much further out and so much bigger. It requires an immense amount of obsession to get there, where, the Ethan goal is like, I can, kind of leisurely, cobble together a few duplexes over the next couple of years and hit my goal, without really stressing myself or forcing myself, out of my comfort zone or out of, hustling hard. And what happens is, like, a lot of those people, they'll get together and they never talk about what is your, end goal? What's your, high level BHAG goal on this thing? And they're just like, oh, you're a cool guy or whatever. And, great personalities. We click, let's go partner up. And then like 6 months down the road, it's like, bro, you're lazy as F. Like, like why aren't you putting in the same amount of hustle as me? And they're like, I'm putting the same amount of hustle as my goal, deserves or warrants. Right. And that's the point I'm trying to make, is like when you're getting into these partnerships and looking, especially in the networking, you have to find people where their goals, their level of goals and their level of passion matches yours, because it's going to be bad. Like you're going to it's like that 80-20 principle is going to snap into effect. Like you're doing 80% of the work, on any task you do, because you're committed more, because your goal is that much bigger. So the importance of networking and finding people where their goals align with yours and their timeline aligns is absolutely critical. I've seen it firsthand. I've lived through it. And I'm a lot more selective on who we partner with now because of that. So it's good you guys knocked that out right in the beginning, because that is a huge, huge pitfall. And it's a very stressful one, because usually if there's friends involved, now there's feelings involved and, stuff like that. And, usually ruin friendships and stuff like that. So.
And that's where getting in a mentorship helps too, because you do surround yourself with people that have that similar goal. I mean, not everybody in a mentorship is going to have that goal of multi-millions if that's what you're looking for. But it's a lot more likely that you do find that person in there, especially if the mentorship is one that's not necessarily a cheap one, one that they really put an investment into because they're really passionate about what they're going into.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about some systems. So that's, you're the maverick of systems. Let's hear about it. Let's see how my question to you is multiple questions. So first, how has being systems minded and process minded helped you scale, or is helping you scale? And what are your favorite systems and processes that you've implemented to date?
So, I mean, in terms of making a scale, to answer that first question, I would say the biggest thing about having systems and processes is just making sure that things actually get done, and they get done on time, and they get done the right way. So for us, like one of our biggest systems is our just daily morning meeting. And it's not necessarily like a system. It's just like something that we have integrated, and we write down all the stuff that we're going to do on a daily basis. And we kind of look at what we're doing together. And ever since doing this daily morning meeting, we've probably, I don't even know. I mean, Ethan, you could probably attest for this, but maybe like 2x the amount of work that we were doing before. When we were back, wholesaling, doing the weekly goals. So something as easy as that, to just make sure that you're actually getting stuff done, as well as making sure that your customer is getting the best experience possible. There's a million businesses out there, and if you don't have systems and processes, you're going to get beat by a company who does have systems and processes. So that's kind of the way we think. We're trying to be the best, and to be the best, you can't just have everything on the back of a napkin. Yeah.
And I think to add on to that, another thing that comes off of systems and processes is softwares. So Harris has a very systems oriented mind. And so what he does is he scours the web for the best software for a specific task at hand or a specific project. And that's helped us a lot. For example, in wholesaling, I tell this story a lot, but this is going to be really good too. So for our daily or our weekly meeting, we also had something that we called an education focus. So what we found is the more we scaled within our business, the more in the business we became, which made it difficult to work on the business. So what we came up with is every week we would have an education focus for each person in the business. At this time, it was 3 people, myself, Harris, and our old partner, Ben. And the education focus would be one specific area of our business that we need to work on, not work in. And so at the end of the week, we would come to, have a meeting and have a report about what we learned. So one week, Harris was looking at data. His whole job for the whole week was to look at our systems and processes and our software for data. And what he found was all of these, coaches and gurus within the wholesale industry and the single family industry are spreading ways to find data. And they all have affiliate codes, and they're all using similar
the same softwares
that overcharge. And what he found was, okay, wholesaling and single family real estate isn't the only area where companies are supposed to get data from. Companies in all these other different industries have to get data, and they have to get phone numbers. Where are they getting it from? What are some other options for us? And so what he found was a bunch of different softwares that allow us to get data for a half for literally 10% of the price we were paying. So that's another big thing. When you have that systems oriented mind, you can find softwares that help you at that task or that project as well. Not just building a system for the project, but going out and finding other softwares.
Yeah. So a big tip for getting like phone numbers, we realized that the real estate space is just really overpriced because all these companies and these softwares, they know that real estate investors make good money. So they charge a premium for that. So
or they niche themselves down to be targeted for real estate, and that increases the perceived value. So somebody's willing to pay more because it's for real estate investors. When in actuality, all you need is the phone number or the data. It doesn't matter if it's for real estate. It's just, we just need the thing, you know?
So insurance companies, they're big on getting phone numbers too. And we found there's a good company that we can vouch for. The name is IDI Core. They have skip tracing for like, it's like Federal Bureau and like insurance companies. I don't know exactly what they do, but it's really good data, and it's like 4 cents, 5 cents a record. And that's what these big real estate companies are using on the back end, most likely. Like they're probably just taking their data and just up pricing it and putting a niche on it.
Yep.
So that was one thing that we realized was pretty good for us. And we've been using that since.
Yeah. Look at the back end of the softwares. Like Harris said, these companies, they have a good user interface and they have good marketing team and good branding, which increases the perceived value. So people are willing to pay more, but they're just getting their data or the base software from another company.
A wholesale company like a IDI Core.
Exactly. It doesn't even have to be data. It could be, these phone dialer systems. They have the branding and they have the marketing and they have the good user interface. But to be honest, we don't care about that. I just want it to work. So if you can look behind the curtain and look at, okay, what company is providing this service for this other company and go directly to them, then you can beat out the middleman and get direct to the source.
That's huge. I was going to say the best way to get phone numbers is cheesy pickup lines, but your way is probably better. No, that's huge. I love the concept of just questioning like everything. Like, why do we have to do it this way? Like, don't just like blindly accept, well, that's what the market does. I've seen, like, to your point, like some of these these softwares out there, they're just like how can you possibly be charging like hundreds of dollars a month for this service? Like, this is crazy. Even if it's just like the real estate related ones or like the phone dialers, I'm like, this is insane. Because I know even if you just go to I don't know what the IDI Core, but even just like the basic ones like List Source or something like that, like even that's like 1/10 of the price of what a lot of these these softwares that have like the user experience, better user experience. I'm like, this is insane. So
I agree. And then the other thing about List Source, List Source is a step below other data sites. And then even List Source is where they're getting their data from. They're getting their data directly from tax records, and they're charging you for being able to pull the data from tax records and put it into a nice and easy list that you can filter. So another company that you can use on the data side, on the actual, mailing address and property address. And Harris found this during, I believe it was during the education focus week, was regrid.com. And this is a website where you can go on and pull every single parcel in your county for $100. And it gives you the zoning, it gives you all the information available on the tax website, and you can pull the entire county for $100. So instead of paying, 20 cents a record or 3 cents a record, you're paying, I don't know, divided by 100.
If you're not using regrid for pulling your data, then you're doing yourself dirty. Say what?
That you're basic.
Yeah, I mean,
you can pull it directly from the tax county sometimes, but for our county, they were never
charged for that. A lot of my counties here in Michigan, they charge. It's not a lot, but it's like annoying. Like,
it's not easy.
$2 to get this, this tax. I'm like, really? You're gonna charge me $2 to pull this record?
So many people use List Source, and it's like we haven't used List Source in a year because we literally just own all the data in our entire county, and we spent like $300.
Nice.
And
that's
like
huge.
30 minutes of our time. I mean, find these softwares that do what you think the back end of this company is doing. So list source, how are they getting their data? I don't know, question it. Tax records, that's the only place that they're going to get it. Okay, there's got to be companies that just scrape the tax records and they don't charge you an arm and a leg per each individual piece of data.
And then once you have that raw data, you can do what you want with it. So what I did with the data is I had a list of every single parcel in the county, and it had the property address and the mailing address. I said, okay, I want an absentee owner list. Well, instead of paying list source 20 cents a record to do that, I can just write a simple formula within Excel that compares the property address to the mailing address. And if they're different, it means it's an absentee owner. And then you populate that on another column or another list, and then boom, you have 20,000 records for $100.
Nice. I love it. Blowing my mind right now.
Yeah. So just thinking outside the box. That's something that Harris is super good at. And never take no for an answer.
Love it. So what are some current deals that you've done? All these systems and processes and stuff. How is that translated to deals?
I have an interesting one. It was a single family. So we were in this mentorship that taught creative finance. And I think that's something that we're going to be able to use in multifamily as well.
Yeah.
It's more of your mentorships called Sub 2. It teaches about seller finance and Subject 2, so taking over loans. There was this deal in a really, really nice part of Raleigh. And the owner wanted to sell it. He was getting older. There was a renter in there. And he wanted, I think, like $275,000 for it. Built in 2012, beautiful property, beautiful townhouse. And it wouldn't work as a cash offer. This is another thing about don't take no for an answer. Figure out how to make things work. It wouldn't work as a cash offer because it just didn't make sense for us. It was a really nice property. He wanted too much. And so instead of saying no and just deading the lead, I went in for another option. And that was what's called a hybrid. So I don't know how deep you want me to get into this, but there was $200,000 left on the mortgage. And I told him, I'd say, hey, how about you let us take over the mortgage. We'll pay the mortgage on your behalf. Mortgage stays in your name. That's what a Subject 2 is. And then, I'll give you $35,000 on top of that. And then instead of paying him $35,000 up front, I negotiated to give him $10,000 down and then hold back. So he would seller finance the rest of his equity. And it took some negotiating, but he said, okay. And then this is also the importance of knowing your exit strategy. So on the back end, I already knew who I was going to sell it to. So I asked them, what are you going to do with this property? What is your plan? And they said they were going to sell it after the tenant moved out. And that was in June of the next year. So like 8 months down the line. And so I went back to the seller and I said, hey, we can give you this, seller finance your monthly payments over the next, it probably, came out to 6 or 7 years, and that would be fine. Or I can give you a balloon payment. I can pay you all of the money in 12 months, but I need $10,000 off the purchase price because I already knew that exit strategy. So I knew that was going to be fine. And they said, okay. So getting the property down from, 275, 265 down to 245, and then another $10,000 brought it to 235. So at the end of the day, we were getting a property for $10,000 down. It was it was worth $300,000, by the way, at the time. It was worth $300,000, getting it for $10,000 down. And obviously it's Subject 2 and seller finance, so you don't have to qualify for it because the loan stays in their name. And then you can stop me at any second, by the way. 8 months down the line, I talked to the person we sold it to again, and they were selling it. And I asked them how much they sold it for. And they said $358,000. So
he made a check off that.
Yeah, he made a lot of money off of it. And obviously it was because of the market. It was in a good spot. It was, a good property. But I think it's really important to have multiple tools in your tool belt. And if it doesn't work one way, look at it another way and try to pick at it that way.
Wait a second. I'm confused. So who sold the house? Did you sell it or
we wholesaled it?
We wholesaled it.
We wholesaled it to the buyer and then they sold it 8 months later.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. So
what did we end up making on that whole? We made like 20 something.
Yeah, we made 20 and then we found out they made 100. We were like,
yeah. We were like, shit, we could have held on to it.
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing about creative finance is that like you don't have to qualify for a loan. So at that time, we could have just held it ourselves, and we were like 19, no credit history. no, like we couldn't get a loan even if we paid them $100. Yeah, we can't.
Credit card.
Yeah, we can't even get a credit card. But we could have owned this house.
Wow.
So
no, that's huge, and I don't want to take away from the creative finance, because that's a whole different show just on creative financing. That was big for me, similar reasons. But another reason about using creative financing and then also segueing back into commercial is what they don't tell you about the single families and the small multifamilies and stuff like that, is that if you're just going retail and picking stuff off the MLS, going to get 20% down, getting a conventional loan, sure, the single families and duplexes might be more readily available. You can get easy financing as long as you have 20% down, and decent credit and whatever W-2, you're probably going to get the house. And so you can build up, a few of these pretty quickly. But what they don't tell you is that your DTI, your debt to income ratio, is going to tank. And that's what happened to me. Was like, I had 20 units and I'm like, oh, I'm great. And then I went to go get like a car loan, back to like kind of what Ethan was talking about. Like I couldn't qualify anything. I went to go like, I'm a little bit older. I think I was like 31. I was like 2 years ago or 3 years ago. So I was 29, something like that. And I went to go get a car loan and for my wife, and they're like, you got denied. I'm like, it's impossible. Like, there's no way. And then they're like, your debt to income is like 75%. And I'm like, no, it's not. And so what happens is they take, a lot of these banks, they'll take all of the debt from your real estate, your residential real estate, and take like none of the income that it's produced, because you don't have a long enough timeline of ownership. They want to see like 3, 4, 5 years of ownership before they start counting that income. So, but they'll take 100% of the debt, right? So that's what happened to me. They took 100% of the debt on these 20 units I had and like discounted the income it was producing by like 50%. And that's how these underwriters kind of see that when you have residential real estate. Commercial real estate, it's a whole different ballgame. It's not even on my credit. I got, I don't even know how many, like probably 17, 18, 19 million dollars in commercial real estate debt, but not $1 of it showing up my personal credit report. So it's like literally the sky's the limit on growing that side of the company when you switch to commercial, because it's just a different ballgame, different set of rules. And a lot of people don't realize that trap until they're in it, the residential game, they're in it for 3, 4, 5 years. And all of a sudden, they hit this brick wall like I did, and they have to like engineer themselves out of it. Like, how do I untangle this ball now because of that? So no, that was huge. All right. So there's that. And so now it goes into, aside from missing out on $100,000 on that deal, goes into the next question of what was the biggest mistake you've made so far in this real estate investing journey? Outside of that $100,000 that you lost. Honestly, you lost it, but it was... We
didn't realize it. We only realized like a fifth of that, but...
It's good.
Man.
Hey, it's a win. That is a win.
Well, at the time, it was a big win for us too, because we were like 6 months in, and we needed the money, and
I don't think we
$20,000
could have taken it down if we wanted to.
Yeah, probably not.
Good. I'm not dogging you. It was a win.
So we've had a lot of failures, but the failures teach you a lot. I would say one of the biggest ones would just be the fact of kind of trying too hard to make money over building relationships. And that's something that we've been learning recently, is the power of relationships and kind of putting that first. Because money comes, right? Like it's, especially in commercial, it's a lot about who you know. So, and one of our mentors, he's actually a realtor, but his name's Ricky Caruth. He talks about this a lot. Build friendships. These aren't like potential investors. They're not clients. They're friends. People in your mentorship, they're not people that you're networking with so you can make money from them. They're friends, and grow these friendships, and you're going to find out who you click with, who don't click with, and then the money is going to attract. And that's one of the things where when we first started in business, it was all just like slam the phones. They're not even, they're on the edge, or they're not interested, on to the next. Build the relationship, build the friendship, and then that business is going to come to you tenfold.
Yeah. And I'll say another failure that we've had. And this is really something that we've learned. Having a systems oriented mindset is a blessing and a curse. So the blessing side is obviously you can build a business, you can become very efficient in what you're doing. and you can get stuff done. Downside is you can get so lost in the systems that you become blind to the truly income producing activities. Mm-hmm. And that's something that Harris and I have struggled with
yesterday.
We've struggled with
80-20.
Yeah, we've struggled with that because, we're like, okay, how can we perfect everything that we're doing? When in actuality, you don't have to perfect it. You just have to focus on making money and what produces income. So one thing that I did recently was, and this really helped us, I think, is write down the 3 to 5 things that are going to move the needle and produce income in your business when you are outside of your business. So if you're on vacation, if you're, not working on your business on the weekend, we always work on our business. So it's kind of hard to find time for this, but I don't know, when you're at the gym, whatever you're doing, write down 3 to 5 things that are most important to your business when you're not sitting down in the middle of the day. And that's going to allow you to think, okay, this business is actually really simple. I don't have to overcomplicate it. I just have to focus on the things that truly matter. And then you can come back to the desk and see, okay, how am I going to make sure I'm doing this? How do I not forget about this moment? And how can I implement this? But yeah, I'd definitely say a failure is definitely not, is getting caught up in being perfect and getting caught in the rabbit holes of the whole system side of the business.
Yeah. So one of the things, and you mentioned the 80-20 rule. So I'm big on that and the, Pareto analysis and pick charts and stuff like that. Like what's the thing that's going to move the needle the most with the least amount of, effort or resources involved, and then just keep focusing on that. And then one of the other things is, a lot of people get focused on being busy, right? Instead of being productive, right? So the point of stopping, even if you have to set an alarm on your damn phone, like stopping every, few hours throughout the day and asking yourself, okay, what is this revenue generating activity or not? Or am I just being busy? And I get into that too, right? Like my ADD kicks in. I'm like, I just need to do stuff. And then I'm like, wait, stop. Like, this isn't like, this is a thing that needs to get done, but it's not going to put, revenue or leads in the top of my funnel. So that is very, very important to do is not focus on being, productive and effective and not just busy. And it's hard. It's a hard one.
It's really hard to do.
If your nose is down and you're grinding, it's really hard to pull yourself up and like look around and be like, okay, what am I actually doing right now? Like, which way am I rowing this boat? Right. A lot of people, they'll using that analogy, they'll row for, hours and hours and days and realize they've been going
in circles.
In circles or south, and then we should have been going north. Right. It's like, all right, we made it really far in the wrong direction because, so busy, trying to be busy, than actually moving the needle. So that's huge, very wise.
I think a good thing to add on to that too is knowing like your quarterly and your yearly goals, and then picking like what Ethan said, that 3 to 5 things that get you that move that needle as fast as possible to that goal. So we do weekly meetings. We do like a 15-minute daily meeting, as well as we do like an hour and a half long weekly meeting. And these meetings help us so much. Like they really keep us on track. And one of the things that we've included in our meeting chart, we have like a whole chart straight from Traction that we use, is we have our quarterly goals. So we're just everything that we want to be done in the next 3 months or where we want to be. And then we talk about, all right, what are we doing this week to get towards that goal? And then are we spending time on the things that actually get us towards our goal? So that's a big thing is evaluate what your quarterly goal is or what your yearly goal is, and evaluate often how the heck you can get there. So you're not going in circles or you're not going south when you need to be going north. You're going the right direction.
And to track those objectives, those quarterly objectives, we have, and I'm not sure this came from Traction, but it probably did. We have our weekly scorecards.
That's Traction.
Okay. So yeah, you have your yearly goals, you have your 3-month objectives, and then you have your weekly scorecards. So your scorecards get you to your objectives, and your objectives get you to your yearly goal. So we have, Ethan, how many calls did you make this week? How many investors did you speak to? How many emails did you send out? Harris, how many posts did you make? And it allows you to hold yourself accountable. So if you are getting drawn towards things that aren't income producing, you'll see it reflected in those scorecards.
You're not going to hit your goals. Yeah, you're not going to hit your
exactly.
score.
And then you reflect on it each week. Okay, Harris, why didn't you hit this? What can we change? What can we pull off your plate to make sure that you can hit these things that we're supposed to be prioritizing?
Love it. Traction or scaling up. What one's better?
I think traction is more implementable for a business. I think scaling up, it gets you thinking large. Maybe it's built for a little bit larger of a company, but I think traction to start off is probably better.
Yep. I agree as well. I like traction. To start with, that's kind of where we started. Actually, we started like eMyth, right? So eMyth, because I didn't know. Again, it was one of those things like I didn't know that books and products like traction or scaling up existed. Rockefeller Habits. I didn't know any of that existed. But eMyth, Michael Gerber, really popular book, really old now, but it was like, that's all I knew. So that's kind of how I started my company, was the eMyth. And then I got traction. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And what I like about it is that it's like, it has the different, the different books in the series of like, okay, here's for the visionary and the integrator, like, here's your book, here's your playbook to be, lead the company. And then it's like, okay, your subordinates, here's the book that the subordinates need to read, so they understand, this traction EOS model. And I really like that. And of course, if you want to pay, then they have like the paid coaching to help implement it too. But it's, I think that was a lot more actionable, especially because they get all like the free downloads and worksheets and stuff like
and there's
that.
Charts and stuff too.
Yeah. But yeah, scaling up is, I listen to them both. I have them both and they're both really good. But right now we are doing EOS in our company as well. So it definitely works. Better than what we were doing before. Definitely more organized. So if anybody listening, Traction. Gino
Wickman. Yep. Great book.
Cool. So let's move on to, we got to round this up here. So the normal question would have been, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self? So let's change that. Let's do, what advice would you give your senior year self to get them started if they're interested in the entrepreneurial journey?
I would say focus more time on like your health. And that means not just like going to the gym, but your mental health too. So like spend time on like yourself and like really getting your headspace right. And I'm like, I wasn't like in a bad headspace in high school at all. I know some people are, but it's really like eating right, going to the gym, taking time to meditate, getting in those rhythms and getting consistent with things that generally make you feel better and they overall make you feel healthier will change the trajectory of your life. And then the second thing I would say is pick your friends wisely. So my freshman year of college, I was very lucky to meet Ethan, but I was also surrounded by a lot of people, and a lot of my friends were, drinking a lot, doing a lot of drugs, and they're still not doing anything. Like they're still in college and they're still doing the same things they were doing 3-4 years ago, if not even worse now. So be careful about who you're around, and pick your friends wisely. So those are the two things I would tell myself looking back.
Yeah, I would say the same thing as Harris. I think the most important thing is surrounding yourself with people who push you and people who are positive. And I said this on another podcast, and we heard this at MM4 in Orlando when Luke Rinn spoke, but he said we have these fitness checkups and we have dental checkups and we have eye exams, but do you take time every month and look at your circle, and you look at your group of friends and your family around you and who you spend the most time with, and see how they're affecting your life? And if they're not pushing you in a positive direction, if you feel like they're dragging you down, then you need to handle it. Handle it means, you talk with them, you bring it up to them. And if, worst comes to worst, you just have to get them out of your life, because at the end of the day, in some moments of your life, you have to be selfish, right? You have to think about yourself. You're the most important person. And if they're dragging you down, you're not going to be able to help yourself, and you're dragging your future self down from helping other people. And so to go back to advice for someone in high school, it's so cliche. Like everybody says this, but your environment, it affects you a lot. And especially being younger, you want to fit in with the crowd more. When you get older, that's less of a habit. But when you're young, especially in high school, you want to fit in the crowd. So make sure that crowd is somebody or some group of people that's going to push you down the road in a positive direction.
Yeah. And I think I love that you mentioned, like, look at the people that may be dragging you down. And I think a lot of people think that, or the common misconception would be that being around people that don't make you feel good, right? That's not what dragging you down is. I could be around somebody who doesn't have any goals or doesn't have any, direction in life, but I feel great around them. I like them. I laugh when I'm with them, but they're not pushing me at all. That's somebody ultimately who probably is dragging me down. And so don't just think like, oh, I need to get rid of the people that make me feel bad when I'm around them, because you're probably already doing that. Look at the people that aren't pushing you and aren't actually helping you be a better person, but instead they're, helping you with habits that aren't good. Yep. And those are the people that are dragging you down.
Yep, absolutely. And I to your point, the two biggest kind of groups of people that, were dragging me down were the ones that were like, hey, it's 5:00. Why aren't we drinking yet? And the other ones were like, hey, that sounds really risky. Why don't you just put all your money in a mutual fund like everybody else? Like, those are the two groups of people, like those mindsets that I had to like shed. So yeah, it wasn't like, abusive relationships or anything like that I was in. It was just like people that were just like, hey Vince, we're going, we're going out drinking. We're going to, we're going to this party. We're going to do
where
this.
you at?
Like, why aren't you here, loser? Like, stuff like that. Like, that was the kind of stuff that, being young in the military, that's very, very common. It's very similar to college, right? So, being in the dorms and stuff like that, where it's like I had to shed myself of those kind of relationships. And it's very important. And it's not like bad. It's not like you guys are losers, blah, 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 like that. It's like, hey, you guys do your thing. I'm going to go do mine. I still love you. We're still friends. Call me if you're stuck on the side of the road, but I need to focus my energy because my goals are taking me somewhere else. And that's kind of how you handle those situations. It's not like, cutting them off and, burning bridges, but it's like, I'm just going to take my chair and go put it at this table, but, I'm still here for you when you need me, kind of thing. Good stuff. All right. Fire round. Ready?
I'm ready.
All right. What's your favorite book other than Rich Dad Poor Dad?
My favorite book is definitely Outwitting the Devil. It's by Napoleon Hill.
No, that's a good one. You stole that from me.
Am I supposed to talk about it, or is it supposed to be like one word?
Do whatever you want.
Okay. I like Outwitting the Devil because a lot of people know about Think and Grow Rich from Napoleon Hill. But Outwitting the Devil is basically Napoleon having a conversation with the devil, whether you believe that's the real devil or having a conversation with himself. And it's literally, the book is phrased in a conversation. So it's some going back and forth about how to control yourself and different sins you can have as far as, smoking and drinking and partying, that sort of stuff. So it was written in 1930s. And so it's very applicable to today. It's kind of scary how applicable it is. So I would definitely check that out.
Cool.
Yeah, I would say I'll give two books because we already kind of talked about Traction. Traction was going to be the one, either Traction or Outwitting the Devil. Traction's a great book, teach you a lot about business. But the other one, and I actually have it sitting literally right next to me. This book actually helped us a lot, and it's by a good friend of ours, Vince, Bo Berry. It's called Multifamily Investors Who Dominate. So it's a little aggressive of a book, but it teaches you how to think from the perspective of a broker if you're in the commercial real estate space. And that's so important. So think like understanding that, hey, these brokers are the gateway to you getting deals. So this is a book by a broker, a very successful broker that tells you kind of what they're looking for. And that definitely has helped us a lot and spurred a lot of ideas for us as well.
Slap it down.
Slap it down.
All right. So what is your superpower?
Systems for me.
Yeah, definitely systems for Harris. I think my superpower is, God, it sounds so not interesting, but I think it's bringing people together, like creating relationships and bringing people together. I love doing it. I love seeing people happy. And I guess you can definitely use that in a good way. So I guess that's a superpower.
Oh, yeah.
Got it.
Definitely a superpower.
All right. What is the biggest lesson you've learned over your career?
Oh, man. Do things for yourself. Focus on yourself, because if you focus on other people, you're never going to be happy. And that's something I struggle with every single day. Like literally every single day, I still have not found a way to completely focus on myself. And, to be like completely honest, it's very difficult. It's a very difficult thing to do, But in days where I have successfully done that, I've been the happiest I've ever been. And so it's a daily struggle, and you have to work on it every day. But I think if you can get that down, your life is going to be 100 times better.
Yep. I would say something very similar. Definitely focus on yourself. That's huge. As well as like what I said earlier in the podcast, relationships over everything. Find those people that you mesh with and actually, talk to them, spend time with them. If they have the same goals as you, then those relationships are going to get you 10x what, 100 relationships that are crappy will get you. So those two things and consistency as well. So, doing something small every day just to start the day to get in that rhythm of being consistent, at least for something, and then kind of grow that. And that's something, consistency is hard as hell. It's very easy to come up with excuses. So trying to find different ways to be consistent.
Love it. All right. Last one is for the busy working professional who's working toward financial freedom. What is your last bit of advice or tips you have for them?
This is interesting because my dad got into real estate a few months ago, and he's a busy working professional. He's, in his 50s. And I think it's finding what value, if you're super busy, you need to find what value you bring to the table and hone in on that. So if you're working a full-time job, you're not going to be able to you can, but it's going to be very difficult to come into an industry, specifically the multifamily industry, and learn, every single part of the business before you get into your first deal. I think it's important to know your strengths, to know your weaknesses, to play to your strengths, and then build your value, the value you bring to the table around those strengths. So for us, that's, building systems and building a business. So we found that raising capital, we truly enjoy. We enjoy marketing and stuff like that. So yeah, if you're busy, find the value you bring to the table based off of your previous experience and then play into that.
That's a really good answer. To kind of go off of that answer, I guess it's, find what your value is, find what piece you can bring to the puzzle, and then, pick that goal and then pick those steps to get towards that goal. So you're working full time. You don't have a ton of time. So the time that you do spend, you need to be spending it on the things that move that needle. So pick that goal, that 3-month goal, and set those 3 to 5 things that'll get you to that goal, and do that consistently every day. Back to consistency. If that's, an hour a day, or that's 3, 4, 5 hours a day, whatever it is for you, make sure to set that guideline up front for yourself for what you can do and stay consistent with it.
I have one more thing to add here. And I think that's, and I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but I see a lot of people in my generation doing this, and it's victimizing themselves. And it's really common in my generation. It's very, very common, and it's scary how common it is. But people like to victimize themselves, and they like to give excuses. And so if you're a working professional, I see if you get yourself in the right environments, like a mentorship, you see other working professionals putting in the work. And so if you work 40, 50 hours a week, and you sleep out 8 hours, yes, time for your family, you're still going to have another 20, 30 hours to work on your side hustle. So just because you're super busy doesn't mean you can't do it. Other people are doing it, and don't give yourself that excuse because you can physically see other people doing it. So I think holding yourself accountable and not playing into that victim mindset, and it's a lot less prevalent, I think, in the older generations, but I'm also speaking to people in my generation. If you're in college, if you just started a job, just started your career, you have more time. You just have to make sacrifices.
Love it. Too much advice. Longest fire round ever, but it is great. That was absolutely great advice. Love it. So how can people get a hold of you?
So you guys can reach us every single way possible: Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. We're on everything. My Instagram is Harris Trail. Ethan's is Ethan Neumann Official. Follow our company as well, Visioneer Capital. Our company page is not boring. Trust me, we give away a bunch of cool stuff on there. We give it all, like a ton of documents away on our website for single family real estate, multifamily real estate, business in general, a bunch of these systems, stuff that we're using in our business. We talk about this and way, way, way more on our Instagram. So at Visioneer Capital. And check us out. Check us out on Facebook too. But yeah, you can reach us anywhere or on Google, thevisioneergroup.com. Look us up. We make it easy for you guys.
Love it. Well, that's all we got, right? Ethan, any last words?
Yeah, I think I've spoken enough.
Right.
Thank you, Vince. We appreciate you allowing us to come on today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait for this to air, and we'll get on. I'm ready to go build some systems. So
let's do it.
All right. Take care, guys. And it was a great show with Ethan and Harris. Tons of knowledge from guys that, and they're 20 years old and they're absolutely crushing it. They're filling their rocket right now. With the fuel of these system processes, mindset, the hustle, and they're going to be launching very, very soon. I couldn't be more impressed of those two cats. So definitely look out for them. In the next few years, they're going to be absolutely crushing it in their company there. So definitely check them out. If you thought this episode was helpful and you liked it, please share it with your friends and family. We're trying to grow this page, extend our reach. So please share. We're pretty much everywhere. We're on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, all of them. So Stitcher, share this episode, share our show. I'm trying to get our subscriptions up so we can extend our reach and keep growing this channel and keep offering more episodes, get more guests, and we'll get going here. So check us out, TriCityEquityGroup.com. If you're interested in talking with us, working more with us on what we do, what we have going on, especially for 2022, big things coming down our pipeline. And then also the biggest thing is our upcoming conference, the Hawaii Millionaire Mindset Conference, the Blueprint. It's going to be July 21st to 24th, 2022, island of Oahu, where it's going to get the 4 seasons, A-class, everything all around. We got golf scrambles scheduled, VIP dinners, everything. Definitely want to go make it a business vacation out in Oahu, stay a couple of days, bring your family. We got Disney Alani, 4 seasons, all the best hotels. If you want to Google it, it's in a resort town called Ko'olina. It's definitely going to be a blast. Can't wait for that event. So you can check out there, register and buy tickets there. Millionaires Mindset Blueprint.com. It's going to be huge. So definitely don't want to miss that event in 2022. So I'm signing off here and see you on the next one.